In this video, traders, we're going to look at how we can use rectangles to define our support and resistance as opposed to just using our regular solid lines. Stay tuned. Hey guys, everyone, welcome to you. All right, so traditionally, technical analysis, we have our solid lines under our support, solid lines of resistance. We used to use lines freely. But the problem with lines is you've got a very definite binary event. The market's above it or below it, and that's it. But in reality, we know that markets often fake out by a few pips, a few ticks. They don't quite make the level by a few pips, a few ticks, and we need to account for that. So there's a way that we can do it on our charting platform. I'm going to hit the screens and kind of do an example, but there's a way of doing it in your charts that allows you to kind of look through a different lens and be a little bit more flexible with the way the price is approaching a level that potentially you want to do business at or potentially you want to take the trade off. So let's hit the screens now and let's have a look. Hey traders, so I want to talk a little bit about support and resistance. Guys, we all know about support and resistance. It's one of the cornerstones of technical analysis. And traditionally we draw horizontal lines for our support and resistance, right? We go, okay, there's our support and resistance. Let's make it a nice thick black line here. We'll apply as a default as well, which is something nice we can do here. So, we'd draw a line in and we'd say, yeah, there's our support and resistance. And maybe we'd say, oh, I see another one kind of running down here. Let me put a line in here. But the trouble is, you get cluttered very quickly, right? I've been in a situation myself, guys, and this is kind of this video is a little bit of a hack to get around it, is that you start going, oh, I've got a little level here, and they're all valid levels. Going today, we're on USD JPY, an hourly chart here, and all these are valid. And you can see why the price has kind of stuck to it reasonably well. We've got the high here, it's kind of tagged it, it's gone through it. We've got a level here. In fact, you probably want to put another level here. All of them are valid, because you've got multiple touches, pause here, roll over. But it just looks cluttered, doesn't it? It's just like I've just got so much junk on the chart. Which one do you stick to? When we're pulling back now, do we wait till it gets to here? Do we wait till it overshoots to get to here? Do we scale in here and then here? How do you play the game? It all becomes a little bit grubby, a little bit. I just find that sometimes lines aren't the solution. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. Lines for definitive levels like your high or arguably here are okay, but I've got a better option for you. And you can do this on CTrader, and you can do this on multiple platforms. You can do it on MT4 if you use MT4 through Pepperstone, MT5, but CTrader. So I use the rectangle function. Now the rectangle allows you to draw a zone, and this to me is a far more sensible way to be drawing your levels. Now some are going to be lines, of course, but this is a far more sensible way of doing it because it starts to encompass everything, and it starts to reflect the fact, as we know, guys, that price doesn't just go and kiss your level to the exact tick and roll over 1,000 pips and put 1,000 pips in your pocket. Okay, sometimes it's going to happen, but we know that ultimately the way that price moves, the way that a lot of markets move, is they dip through levels, and the real sweet spots very often come from little false breakouts. Like we can just see example here. This is just literally an hourly chart pulled up on USD JPY after some data. Bang, there's our high, and you can just see multiple times we've, if you're using a definitive line, you're kind of thinking, it's gone up, an extra kind of 10 pips through it or whatever it may be. Whereas if you're using a rectangle, and by the way, to change kind of some of the things, I like to change it, and you can fill the rectangles area with color, but also then you can't see price. But if you can go here and you can go make it a little bit more transparent, and you can kind of see what's going on. And what I'll do is I'll add that as the default. So now we've got a level. So now it becomes a little bit of a nicer way to view things, in my opinion. I can see there's a level there, and if I want to extend it out, I can extend it out as we kind of go through the next day and the next day, etc. And I start to be able to see the market conditions in a much more representative way as to how they trade. So rather than a line where we're going, oh, it's either above or below a line, and that's, even if we don't believe we have the anchor point and a reference like that, we actually do, because we see the line and we go, oh, it's above support, it's below support, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, anywhere within the region of support and resistance is probably where it could turn. If we had a kind of simple line here and went, wow, there's our exact high, oh, we're trading above it and it's a 30-minute chart. Yes, technically you are, but when you look at it in the bigger picture, it could easily still be in the fake out / breakout zone. What it's like, guys, when it goes through a level, it could be one or the other. It's not clean, it's not clear cut. Yeah, I mean, it's never clear cut. It can reverse at any time, of course it can. But when we look at it through a different lens, when we look at it through a lens of, hey, you know what, this is a cluster, this is a zone, this is really kind of showing us an area where we potentially could look for a reversal, where we potentially could look for a kind of change in sentiment. And then things like this, we just saw a minute ago, we had multiple lines here, but then you can kind of draw these and then maybe play around with it and go, hey, you know what, this is a kind of a lighter level. I'm not interested in doing business in here, but I want to see how it behaves at this. Do we get a kind of a pinball acceleration off it to the highs? Do we rotate back down? And you start to see, I do anyway, and maybe it will help you, hopefully it does, you start to see the markets in a different viewpoint, different perspective, rather than these definitive lines that are a binary or above it or below it. It's like, okay, we're around it, and the kind of width you do the rectangle can be based, of course, on what's happened prior. But even if it hasn't, you can also just move it and go, right, well, I'm going to use it. I'm going to kind of have how many squares width, whether you want to do like 10 pips or whatever, and do either side. So you put it then in the middle, and then you go, right, well, it's in the middle either side. I would call it as we're in that level now, we're in that zone now, because sometimes it falls a bit short. Sometimes the market will come up and fall a little bit short, won't it? It will push up and then roll over. And if you're sitting waiting for an exact touch, you're going to be frustrated. So some way to think about it, guys, some way to think, okay, this is the potential zone for a reversal. This is a potential zone where I might be looking to do business. And then, rather than just using a direct line and going, I'm just going to sell it, hits the line, maybe add a bit of price action into the mix. Maybe add some of your favorite candlestick patterns, like a wick that breaks the downside or closes below the low, or any of these kind of things, any of these little things. We don't need to go into detail now. If you want to check them out, there's more on the channel. I'm sure we'll have more coming up later, but using those in conjunction with it in the zone, then add just a little bit more edge, helps you guide a little bit more, and they're not so surprised then if it goes through. You're kind of expecting it, and then you can reference your stop as well and go, well, my stop needs to be well out of the zone, etc, etc. So really beneficial, I find, guys, to use these rectangles. There's a link to them in the description below. But take care, guys, keep your risk managed, whatever you're up to. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.